All right, let's jump straight into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're breaking down a seriously high-stakes Premier League clash set for May 17th, 2026. We've got 8th place Brentford hosting 15th place Crystal Palace. I'm Analyst A, bringing you the hard data, the statistical anchors, and the win probabilities.
And I'm Analyst B, here to unpack the tactical whiteboard. Listen, if you're tuning in expecting a slow, methodical game of possession, you are definitely in the wrong place. This matchup is going to be a heavy metal, direct transition street fight. Both of these teams want to completely bypass the midfield, get the ball into the final third, and generate high-value shots in a hurry. Let's get right into the numbers and the tactical shape that's going to define this fixture.
Now just look at the stark contrast and context we're dealing with here. Brentford comes into this with a mixed but super resilient profile. Take a look at their last 5. They absolutely battered West Ham 3-0 and ground out solid draws against Everton and Fulham, though they did drop games to the Manchester clubs. But the crucial factor? They're at home, and they are well rested. Exactly, and you contrast that with Crystal Palace's recent run. They've been incredibly volatile. Beating Newcastle, yeah, but taking heavy 3-1 and 3-0 losses to Liverpool and Bournemouth. But here's the massive red flag for Oliver Glasner's side. They had a grueling midweek trip to Manchester City just days before this match. That introduces a massive rotation and fatigue risk that fundamentally alters the physical landscape of this entire game.
Which brings us to the core identity of this match. Neither of these teams ranks highly for long, sustained possession sequences. Both managers have built systems explicitly designed to punish opponents in transition. They're hunting for early, high-value shot creation. It's all about rapid box entries. The team that manages their defensive transitions better and covers the half spaces when they inevitably lose the ball is the team walking away with the points.
Let's move over to the structural clash to see how this actually builds on the pitch. We're looking at Thomas Frank's 4-2-3-1 for Brentford, going head-to-head with Oliver Glasner's tried and tested 3-4-2-1 for Palace. Brentford relies on 2 holding midfielders, very likely Norgard and Damsgaard, to shield the back 4, which allows their wide players to just bomb into open space. Palace, on the flip side, operates with dual number 10s right behind the striker, supported by unbelievably aggressive wingbacks who provide literally all of their width.
So how does Brentford actually hurt you? Their route to danger is incredibly defined. First off, they are absolutely lethal on high-efficiency set pieces and long throws. They just create absolute chaos in the penalty area to win those second balls. In open play, it's all about creating overloads out wide and delivering early direct service right into their main man, Igor Thiago. They really don't want to pass it around your defensive block. They want to go right through it or right over it.
Now, Palace counters this with very specific pressing triggers of their own. When they win the ball back, the explosion happens instantly on the flanks. We're talking fast wingback transitions through Daniel Muñoz on the right and Tyrick Mitchell on the left. They immediately look to fire direct attacks into Jean-Philippe Mateta so he can hold up the play, and that allows those second-line late runs from guys like Ismail Assar to crash the box. When it works, it's a beautifully orchestrated counterpunch.
But we absolutely have to factor in the medical room here because injuries completely fracture a team's structure. Brentford is missing Fabio Carvalho to a cruciate ligament injury, which definitely hurts their creative rotation depth, but Palace's absences? Arguably way more devastating. They're missing Eddie Nketiah with a hamstring strain, and critically, Sheikh Doucouré is out with a knee injury. Losing Doucouré absolutely shatters their ball-winning depth in the middle of the park. It makes them incredibly vulnerable to Brentford's central transitions.
Right, and tactically speaking, the ripple effect of Nketiah's absence is massive. It totally removes Palace's ability to rotate or change their attacking profile up top. It forces on Philippe Mateta to be the absolute, undeniable focal point of that 3-4-2-1. He has to hold up play as a lone striker against Brentford's incredibly physical center backs Nathan Collins and Christopher Augier. If Mateta gets isolated, or if he just gets bullied out of the game, Palace's entire system of progressing the ball up the pitch simply breaks down. There's no plan B.
Okay, let's bring the data hammer down. Based on the statistical model, Brentford has a really clear edge here. We're projecting a solid 43% win probability for Brentford, compared to just 29% for Crystal Palace, with a 28% chance of a draw. So why the gap? It's a mathematical combination of Brentford's home advantage, their stronger overall league position sitting at 8th, and that massive, grueling workload Palace is carrying from the midweek Manchester City fixture. Heavy legs against a vertical team, that's a dangerous recipe. To further justify those probabilities, let's look at the expected goals, or XG projections. The model expects Brentford to generate 1.55 XG against Palace's 1.20. Brentford simply boasts a superior chance creation volume, particularly from those set pieces we mentioned earlier. Based on these underlying metrics, the most likely statistical scoreline we're staring at is a 2-1 victory for Brentford.
And look, if Brentford is going to hit that 2-1 scoreline, we all know exactly who is pulling the trigger.
22. That is the massive number of Premier League goals Igor Thiago has scored this season as of mid-May. He is trailing only Erling Haaland in the Golden Boot race. From a pure data and fantasy perspective, Thiago is the ultimate statistical anchor here. He's the central node for almost all of Brentford's chance volume.
Because of that absurd volume, Thiago boasts a massive 39% anytime scoring probability for this match. Guys, that's not a guess, it's a direct mathematical result of his constant presence in the penalty box, paired up against a Palace side that we already know is vulnerable to conceding box entries from wide areas and set pieces. He is the highest probability scorer on the pitch, and honestly, it's by a wide margin.
Okay, shifting back to the tactics, let's look at the specific matchup that might literally decide this game. The vertical battle out on Palace's right flank. Brentford's Kevin Schade possesses just terrifying pace in behind. He's going to be matched up against Palace's right wing-back Daniel Muñoz. Now, because Muñoz makes such aggressive, progressive carries up the pitch, he routinely vacates the half spaces right behind him. Shade's entire job will be to just camp out in those spaces and launch into dead sprints the second Brentford wins the ball back.
And that aggressive positioning by Muñoz is exactly why he's such a vital statistical asset for Palace, and a huge fantasy pick for anyone watching. He offers incredible multi-category value. He's absolutely essential to Palace's offensive efficiency, logging high numbers in transitions, crosses, box entries, and defensive actions. But it's high risk, high reward. If Muñoz is pinned back by Schade's pace, Palace loses half their transition threat. But if Muñoz gets loose, Brentford's defense is in major trouble.
Now, with all this relentless vertical running, we have to talk about the physical, gritty nature of this game. As our pre-match analysis notes, this is not necessarily a dirty matchup, but it is a duel-heavy one. Both sides are going to heavily use the wide channels, and both rely on immense physical pressure. It's going to be an absolute war for second balls out there. If Palace gets forced into a low block, their ability to actually win those duels and clear their lines will dictate the entire tempo of the match.
And you know what happens when you have a duel-heavy game with high transition speeds? The card risk skyrockets. Let's pace through the discipline data really quickly. Christian Norgard for Brentford and Daniel Muñoz for Palace are sitting at medium-high risk. Norgard's going to be forced into tough central duels to stop Palace's breaks, and Muñoz is locked in that brutal one-on-one track meet with Schade we just talked about. Also, keep an eye on Daichi Kamada. He's a prime candidate for midfield tactical fouls to stop Brentford's counterattacks before they even reach the final third. To add a little more fuel to that fire, the projected referee context points to a very busy afternoon. Peter Banks is currently listed to take charge, and he averages 3.94 yellow cards per game. That is a moderate to high card environment. When that midfield gets chaotic and tactical fouls become literally the only way to stop these overloads from turning into easy goals, expect Banks to go to his pocket early and often just to maintain control of the match.
So after breaking all of that down, it really all comes back to this final, provocative question. Will Palace's midweek city fatigue cause their 3-4-2-1 system to completely crack under Brentford's relentless vertical pressure? Well, the data certainly says yes. We've got a 43% win probability for Brentford, anchored by a well-rested squad and Igor Thiago's lethal finishing. It all heavily suggests that Palace's physical limits might just be their ultimate undoing today. But hey, the beauty of the Premier League is that tactics and heart can completely defy the numbers. What do you guys think? Let us know your projections in the comments. Thanks for joining us on this explainer, and we will see you for the next breakdown.